Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your 2018 NFL Divisional Round post-game analysis show. I'm the host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. Little bit of a difference right now when we talk about appearance because I got a hat on my head. You might be asking why. I wanted to, resemble that of a taxi driver. More importantly, I've always been a fan of these kind of hats ever since the days of Triple H in the old WWF, between his run of 99 to really 2001, when he used to come out with the leather backwards, Harley Davidson Kangol hat. I was always a big fan of it, but nonetheless, we ain't talking about that right now. What we're going to talk about is what transpired over this weekend in professional football. First and foremost, the record of my picks thus far. Wild card weekend, I was 2-2. Divisional round, I was 1-3. But what's so funny about it is my preseason predictions, I said it would be the Saints versus the Rams in the NFC Championship and the Patriots taking on the Steelers in the AFC Championship. And what do you know? Only one team didn't bring my dreams to fruition. You goddamn Steelers. You stole the gleam and the goddamn optimistic part of my soul. But I did go against my gut. As I said, if I feel as if I have a gut feeling that another team will win, then I'll end up changing my picks. My only problem was I didn't think to come to YouTube and inform you guys. So I did ultimately change my picks on two particular games. That one being the Kansas City Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts. Right before kickoff, when I saw the snow, I said, all right, wait a minute now. Knowing how the Colts are a dome team, I expected the weather to be somewhat cold. I did not foresee the snow. I did not know if there was forecast, leading into the game that it was going to snow. I was unaware, hence why I did not address it in my pregame. So once I saw the snow and they said it's going to be on the field until about halftime, I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to have to go and switch my team, or I should say switch my pick on there. But for you guys, we're going to keep the integrity there because you were unaware. So I'm still going to lean and say I was 1-3. However, that particular game, I did change my pick. Also, the Rams and the Cowboys prior to the game, I don't know what it was, after watching the Chiefs game, and I said, today feels as if, or I should say the weekend feels as if the home teams are going to walk away with W's for some apparent reason. And then the goddamn pick for that game, it seemed as if it switched as well. The only one that I stayed true to was the Chargers and the Patriots because I believe the Chargers offensive line was going to come out and play. Lo and behold, they didn't, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's break down game by game. I actually wrote some stuff down on the back of my brother's resume. Hopefully he doesn't see this, but then again, he don't really watch my videos like that. If he does happen to click on this one, I hate you, buddy. You're still fat. Now, next, we got the Chargers. Pardon me. Before I get into the Chargers, we got the Colts taking on the Chiefs. First and foremost, the Chiefs walked away with the W, 31-13. Story of this game. Number one, the Colts did not pick up a first down until their final drive of the first half. What the hell was that? All right, I expected them to come out, have a little bit of a dose of a Marlon Mack here and there, but you can't really get your run game going if you can't pick up a first down. Andrew Luck was throwing the passes somewhat here, some there, inaccurate here and there. The weather could be attributed to that, but still, nonetheless, you play professional football. I expect you to go out there and be effective. That was not the case. And you had incompletions here and there. You failed to, convert and get across the dam of the third down marker in order to get a first down. That's where they failed. And what did the Kansas City Chiefs do? Went down the field and they scored. Repeated times. All right, you had the touchdown from Tyreek Hill, then you had another touchdown from Damian Williams, and they just started pouring it on to the point where they could have played the football that the Colts wanted to play, which was on the ground, and then if you need to pass, the pass will be able to kill you. We seen the Indianapolis Colts be able to run the football. This particular game, they couldn't because they were losing by so much. So early, you had to make it the Andrew Luck show, and then the offensive line wasn't blocking as well as I expected them to go out there and block. On top of that, I was not a fan of the play selection either. What else do I have here? The middle of the field, the Colts defense got absolutely destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. You can't stop somebody if you can't guard the middle of the field. Travis Kelce had 108 yards. I don't think he had a catch that was outside of the hash marks. I think everything was inside. Ridiculous how many times we saw them convert on a third down on some crossing route. What was the Colts defense trying to do? I knew Mike Mitchell being on IR. I didn't expect that to be that big of a deal. I can't even remember if he played in the wild card game, but whatever the case was, the Colts secondary, their linebacking core, they were not covering at all. It was absolutely atrocious. The defensive line could not generate pressure, so Mahomes had time. He was able to pretty much diversify his portfolio of how many receivers he wants to give the ball to. It was absolutely atrocious. More importantly, on the ground, you saw Damian Williams run for 129 yards. He was getting whatever he wanted on the ground against the Indianapolis Colts. Absolutely atrocious. He can't play like that. More importantly, when the Colts finally went down the field to try to build some momentum just before halftime, Vinatieri missed a field goal. Doink, off the goddamn left crossbar. Then you go into the second half. They find themselves a miracle touchdown towards the end of the game when they connected with, I believe it was T.Y. Hilton. That was the second touchdown. And what do you have? Wide to the right, missed by Vinatieri again. Now, granted, his misses did not necessarily affect the game. More importantly, the second extra point rather than the first field goal. But had he made that first field goal, maybe they would have had some, I don't want to say momentum, but they would have felt more upbeat coming out of halftime because their defense tightened down for the most part, but offensively, they still continue to struggle. The tight end, Eric Ebron, was found nowhere to be found. I guess the cell reception don't really work in Missouri in cold climate because there was no LTE. It was absolutely ridiculous. There was no luck to Ebron. There was no luck to T.Y. Hilton. He made a couple of appearances here and there, but for the most part, he was nullified the entire game. It was atrocious, all right? The Colts did not deserve to win this game. I believe coming into this particular game, they were playing as the better team, the way that they closed out the season, which they were, but I don't know if it was a weather thing or them being outside of a dome. Whatever the case was, Kansas City Chiefs rubbed a nutsack all over the Indianapolis Colts. And I'll say this to the Colts. After starting 1-5 to turn your season around and make it to the divisional round, that's a valiant effort. Kudos to you guys. But you're getting written down in this death note. Your season's over and Kansas City will host their very first AFC Championship game. Exciting times in Kansas City, Missouri. Now moving on to the Rams and the Cowboys. I'll say this. As I said prior, going into this game, I felt something weird on my spirit saying the home teams are going to win this weekend, with the exception of the Patriots. But of course, they proved me wrong. But something about watching how the Cowboys came out the tunnel and just seeing leading up to the game and just how the Rams were so high energy. I was like, you know what? I feel as if Sean McVay got some up his sleeve, and indeed he did, because they went and they played the football I said that they have to play, and that's run the damn football. And who would have known? It wasn't even through Gurley. It was through C.J. Anderson. All you had to do was fall in the block, C.J., and the man had 123 yards on the ground. Everybody makes fun of his weight, talking about he's so huge, he's so fat. Well, guess what? Some fat running backs actually exceed in this league. All right? Fat running backs always win. Let me not say always. Eddie Lacy, I'm looking at you. But C.J. Anderson, phenomenal job. 23 carries, I think 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley was no slouch himself. 15 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Very good game on the ground. Jared Goff didn't really have to do too much, but when he did want to dump it off, he found Brandon Cooks here. He found Robert Woods here. Like I said, Cooks or Robert Woods would have a very good game. Lo and behold, both of them did. It didn't have to be phenomenal stats, but they were moving the chains when they had the opportunity to. I'll say this about the Cowboys. Failure on the ground. They couldn't run. Ezekiel Elliott had 47 yards on the ground? Atrocious. How many carries? 20 or something like that? Atrocious. Third down, 10% completion on third down, or I should say conversion rate on third down. You can't win football games like that. But hey, 75% conversion on fourth though. You had 3 4th and 1s. You got 2. You had a 4th and 3. You got that one. Kudos to you guys converting on 4th down. But third down, you ain't moved the goddamn chains. All right, what else I had written down over here? Gurley, Anderson combined for 238. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about the Rams. But the Cowboys' ineptitude. After their first score, when they got to Amari Cooper going into the end zone, they punted 4 consecutive times. And of those 4 consecutive times, their defense failed 3 or 4 times because the Rams went into the end zone, they scored. Also, they kicked field goals and continued to add to their total. You can't play football like that. If you're failing offensively, your defense has to tighten down and stop the opposing team. That was not the case. More importantly, their defensive line was getting absolutely no pressure on Jared Goff. But here's the kicker, because the strength of the Cowboys defense, a lot of people attribute that to, their defensive line and the success of Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence. No, it's their linebacking core. Their linebacking core was elite all season. This game, atrocious. They weren't crashing gaps. They were missing tackles. They couldn't read a damn coverage when it was in pass. I don't know what the deal was. They were not on their game. Van Der Esch looked like a rookie, real rookie this game. Jalen Smith looked like he was a goddamn second-year talent, as if this man wasn't playing at an I shouldn't say all-pro level this year, but he was playing at a Pro Bowl level this year. I don't know what the deal was. Sean Lee, he looked like he didn't have his hamstrings on the field. I don't know what the deal was. They looked absolutely atrocious. They were not helping their secondary. They were not helping their secondary at all. And more importantly, not helping the defense because they couldn't stop a soul whenever Gurley or Anderson got the carry and tried to run out that backfield. Because they didn't try. They did. All over the Cowboys secondary, all over the Cowboys linebacking core, all over the Cowboys D-line. Their front seven failed them this game. And that's who I say is to blame, because your offense will have times where they punt, or they'll have times of ineptitude where they fail to convert. But if your defense, every single drive, you're giving up big chunk runs, or I shouldn't even say big time chunk runs. That's a wrong terminology to use. I should say you're giving up runs that extend drives and go beyond the first down marker. Somebody needs to get dealt with. Somebody needs to get benched. More importantly, somebody deserves a stern talking to after, I should say prior to the press conference, because when you're in that locker room and people looking each other in the eyes, knowing that their season's now over, somebody got to get held accountable for what just transpired. I hope they're watching film and all of the linebackers are getting torn apart, because this was on them. This was absolutely on them. More importantly, for the Rams, I'll say this offensively. As I said, I liked the way that their play calling was going. More importantly, I loved the way the offensive line was blocking. And I loved how upbeat they were after every single run. It was like they were foaming at the mouth. Somebody must have put some damn, steroids or rabies in their booty cheeks. Had them foaming at the mouth like some damn squirrels or rats or Thad Castle on rabies. It was phenomenal to see. Offensive line play phenomenal football. Jared Goff, he ain't have to do too much. As I said, if it becomes the Jared Goff show, I'm a little bit concerned. This in particular was not. They trusted in the power of the dreadlocks of Gurley. They trusted into the heaviness of CJ Anderson, and they were able to run to the promised land, moving on to the NFC Championship for the first time since 2001. Kurt Warner, greatest show on turf, and the crew. But I'll say this, LeBron James at the game. You're going into the Rams locker room afterwards. My man, you're a Cowboys fan. What you celebrating with them for? Well, we both repping LA. Get it together, you dummy! Remember your goddamn show? More than an athlete. Guess what? You are more than an athlete. You're a damn bandwagon. You jackass. Now, moving on to the next game. Pats on the Chargers. I'll say this. This game really upset me because after the first drives, right, where we saw the Patriots score with Sony Michel on the ground, Sony PlayStation Michel on the ground. We saw Keenan and Kel Allen reply right back with that phenomenal route on Stephon Gilmore. I believe it was Stephon Gilmore who he scored on. Phenomenal route. I used to do that in college. Did the ball get thrown my way? Absolutely not. Look at the stats. Absolutely trash. You want to look for the stats? You're not going to. I'm not going to let you find them. Now, moving on. After that, the Patriots scored 3 consecutive times. The Chargers could not get off the field on third down. More importantly, second and long situations, the Patriots would not only get the first down, it wouldn't be, oh, we just got 10 yards here. They would pick up 16, 22, 24. Ridiculous. The Chargers front four, I don't think they touched Brady. They came out 7 D-backs on the field. The same sort of stuff that they did against the Ravens. Did those slot corners, did those nickel corners, did those dime corners, did they make tackles? No. Arm tackles all day. Getting ran right through. PlayStation Michel, what was it, 129 on the ground? Ridiculous. The Chargers, the same team that was making phenomenal tackles last week against those very tough Ravens running backs to be able to tackle in the open field, they didn't make those this week. Not at all. They got absolutely decimated. The Patriots imposed their will all over the Chargers. If your phone dead, you're wondering where the Chargers at, they're under the feet of the Patriots. You can't charge your phone no more, man. More importantly, when the Chargers finally got their first stop, their real first stop of the game, and forced the Patriots to punt, Desmond King, Butterfingers, where'd you get your hands from? Lamar Jackson, what's going on? What are you doing? What are you guys doing? You give the ball right back to Brady, what is it, 35-7, bam, into the end zone. You'll never beat the Patriots when you're down by that much points inside Foxborough, where now you become one-dimensional. A lot of people talk about, well, Melvin Gordon couldn't really make an impact. Of course he couldn't. You down by 4 scores. It's not even halftime yet. Or I should say three scores. Well, they were down 4 scores before halftime. But nonetheless, you can't run the football if you can't convert on third down. It's the exact same thing that happened to the Colts. One team did phenomenal across the board. The other struggled on both sides of the ball. You can't win like that. I said if special teams, the Chargers can get Desmond King going, you can win this game. What I forgot to say was, you put the ball on the ground on special teams, you lose. Remember the Bears versus the Patriots earlier this season? The Bears played phenomenal offensively, defensively. 2 special teams fumbles. Or I should say 2 special teams turnovers. And also the 2 interceptions from Mitch Trubisky, but we ain't talking about that right now. The Chargers did it to themselves. More importantly, the offensive line abandoned Phillip Rivers. All right? Abandoned. You want to know what Phillip Rivers saw when he was back there? This is exactly what he saw. I'm fixing to turn the camera. If you get dizzy, you start to have epilepsy, or I should say you start to have a seizure because of your epilepsy, that's what it felt like to be Phillip Rivers, because every time he took the snap and he was trying to make his reads, this all he saw. Moving back and forth because he was getting hit from everywhere. The man got hit at least 2 times on each drive. Ridiculous. Offensive line should be ashamed of themselves, man. Ashamed of themselves. Because the Patriots got through every single time. The blueprint to beat the Patriots is pretty simple. I say it every single year. I say it's very tough to do because the Patriots are no slouches. There's a reason why they've been the model of consistency for the last 19 years. All right? Because if you want to beat the Patriots, you got to have a front 4 that can generate a pass rush without the blitz. The blitz is just an additive. More importantly, you got to be able to play man defense. Did we see the Chargers generate a pass rush? Absolutely not, because I don't think Tom Brady got touched. And what was my second point? That thing about man defense, what did the Chargers do? Oh, we live by the zone, we die by the zone. Remember that Pittsburgh Steelers AFC Championship game in Star Foxborough against the Patriots back in 2016? Live by the zone, Chris Hogan, 9 catches, 180, 2 touchdowns. What did we see this year? What did we see this year? Why'd I put the sound on that? Like I lost the R at the end. It's just yeah, with the just Y-E-A. But we're gonna put the R. What did we see this year? Julian Edelman, nutsack all over the Chargers defense. Desmond King, you are all pro? I ain't see that. Derwin James, you are all pro? I ain't see that. Because real recognize real, and as Riley Freeman would say, you ain't looking real familiar right now. Where were they at? Where were they at? Oh, I got deep thirds. Let me go over there. Matter of fact, no, they were running some cover too. Oh, I got safeties. I got deep thirds. Oh, let's just we're gonna cover the flats over here. We're gonna stay short just in case they got some hooks and curls. Oh, linebackers, we're gonna stay here. Oh, you gonna run zone against Brady? All right, let's keep running that soft zone. Oh, there's the hole over there. Oh, there's the hole over there. They didn't even need Gronk. Gronk had what, 2 catches, 3 catches? Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if he only had 1, because that's the only one I remember when he ran somebody over. But outside of that, I don't remember Gronk having the ball in his hands. They didn't even need him, because the run game was so elite. What I tell you in the pregame, you allow the Patriots to run the ball, game done. Because Brady has the entire offense at his damn fingertips. He'll open up the entire playbook and you'll never beat them. You'll never beat. They started running run plays that they haven't ran all season. And it was working because the Chargers' failure to tackle getting beat up front. Only people who tried to show up was Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa, and the only reason why they looked like they tried to show up is because they was getting upfield. Oh, but when you went upfield, oh, they just ran right off the gap you just left. Oh, I'm lining up outside. Let me go try to beat the tackle outside. Oh, we'll just run inside you. That's all that was happening. Absolutely atrocious performance from the Chargers. Just, oh my Lord, just ridiculous. I was blown away at how bad they played. And a lot of people put it on Phillip Rivers and they'll say, oh, well, he can't win big games. He can't win big games. Let me say this. If you watch that game and you put it on Phillip Rivers, I don't know if you know football, man. Honestly, there's times where he had moments of ineptitude, of course. But if you think you about to win behind that offensive line, now granted, we've seen teams win games or big-time playoff games, win Super Bowls with terrible offensive line. Me being a Steelers fan, I know that 2008 offensive line that was blocking with Big Ben, one of the worst in history. But when you saw the route selections that was there, I should say the play calling that was there, more importantly, the play of the wide receivers and the play of the quarterback was able to elevate over the ineptitude of the offensive line. This particular game, where Rivers was getting hit all day, the play calling was not there, of course, but everybody else did not do their job. Did not do their job. At all. At all. And I'll say this about the defense before I move on to the Saints taking on the Eagles. If you're playing zone, because we saw James White catch 15 passes, 14 passes, whatever it was. I think he tied the NFL record. I think it was 15. But we saw this man catch 15 passes out the backfield. If you're running a zone, you know where you have to be. You're not reading where the opposing player is going. And you still got beat to the spot. It's as if the Chargers defenders, their linebackers, their secondary who stayed short, or their linebackers who were supposed to go and cover the hooks and curls or the flats and the outs and the digs and all the other stuff that was supposed to be out there, they didn't even try to get over there. They was hesitant the entire time. It was ridiculous. You can't tell me you playing zone, you can't even get to your spot. Are you kidding me? You could even cheat to get to where you gotta go, and they weren't there. Atrocious. Gus Bradley, I praised you for your damn play calling against the Ravens. This particular week, man, you better have some sort of issues with your neck with the amount of time that you need to have your head down. It was, oh my Lord. Now moving on to the final game, Saints taking on the Eagles. Eagles started out very well. You started the first play, and the Rockets interception. Drew Brees threw an interception before the national anthem was finished. Then the Eagles got themselves 2 touchdowns, 14-0 lead. Jordan Matthews, give me a touchdown. Thank you very much. Do I have a Super Bowl ring? I wasn't part of the team. Next, you had them go down the field. Nick Foles over the top. You ever seen a backup score TD? Here it is, right there. Nick Foles, touchdown, 14-0. Once I saw they took the lead, I said, something tells me the Eagles not going to score again. Just judging by how they were reacting on the sideline, because the Saints ain't look panicked. They ain't look worried at all. They're like, okay, we down 2 touchdowns. Let's get it together. Defense tightened down. Now, granted, there were some injuries, tough injuries. And you saw me, if you follow me on Twitter, I was live tweeting. I'm like, I hate to see that. Hate to see injuries that'll shift the game, but that's not the reason why the game shifted. Because the Eagles got complacent. The Eagles took their foot off the gas. The Eagles could not block up front. The Eagles could not catch a pass. The Eagles started to screw themselves over. Defensively as well. Why? Because Michael Thomas had over 170 yards through the air, and this man only had like 1 catch that was deeper than 15 yards, or maybe 2. But for the most part, 10 to 15. That's where he resided. Is that what I said the first time? Did I say over 15 yards? I hope I said over 15 yards with like 1 to 2 catches over 15 yards rather than 10. Because if I said 10, then this is going to be very antithetical. I don't want to be the antithesis of what it is that I'm trying to say. But nonetheless, he had a ton of intermediate catches. Ridiculous how they couldn't guard this man. It appeared the nutsack that was being passed from Damian Williams and Travis Kelce, they passed it on to the weekend where it was CJ, or I should say the nighttime game, to CJ Anderson and Todd Gurley. He passed it to, Sony Michel, rubbing it all, and Edelman rubbing it all over the Chargers. And then here we were, this particular game, Michael Thomas rubbing it all over the goddamn Eagles. It was ridiculous. I'll say this about the Eagles. They could not, be creative offensively. After the 2 touchdowns, they couldn't really move the ball, couldn't convert on 3rd down. They didn't even really get into field goal range for the most part. I don't think Jake Elliott had the opportunity to even go out there and kick a field goal. Saints defense did a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. Then, 3rd down, they couldn't get off the field defensively. The Eagles, that is. Because the Saints were converting. Remember that sequence where it was Drew Brees going deep to Taysom Hill? It got broken up. Very next play, Taysom Hill connects with Alvin Kamara. Touchdown. That gets called back. Eagles, or I should say the Saints find themselves in a 3rd and 20 or 3rd and 16 situation. They still find a way to go down the field and score. Michael Thomas, 3 consecutive catches, touchdown. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Eagles ought to be ashamed of themselves. Yes, I recognize they have injuries on their secondary, but you weren't saying all that when they was winning consecutive games and fighting their way into the final wildcard spot and getting to the divisional round. You can't sit over here and big them up for overperforming, and then now you see them, they're backups. And no, don't do that. Don't do that. Saints came to play. The Eagles had multiple opportunities to put this game away, and they failed. Then, we'll talk about this real quick. Golden Tate had a deep pattern where the ball was coming towards him. PJ Williams face guarded him. There was no call. I personally believe that was pass interference. You should have thrown the flag. You should have thrown the flag. He ain't turn around. Sorry. Pass was underthrown? Of course. But when you see receivers turn back around and try to jump for it and the defender does not even turn their head, you got to throw the flag for that. I hated the fact it didn't get called, but that's not the reason why the Eagles lost the game. Why? Because Will Lutz lined up for the game-clinching field goal. He missed. Here back comes Foles. He's got a chance. Down the field, I got you, Ertz, moving the chains. What happens? Alshon Jeffrey 3.3 catch, I should say drop percentage. He has like one of the lower percentages in the league, and he drops it right through his hands. Marshawn Lattimore going back the other way. Game done. Alvin Kamara first down. Game finished. I'll say this about the Eagles. After a very rough start, they were able to fight back, show that champion spirit, find themselves in the playoffs. But consider your name written down in this death note. You guys lost. Bottom line, the Saints were the better team, and I felt as if watching the game, the Saints going to figure out a way to pull it off. They didn't even really run the ball like that. All right? Mark Ingram only had a couple of I don't even really say a couple. He had that one big run. Outside of that, he was pretty much a non-factor. Kamara picked up yards here and there. He had some great 8-yard runs. He had some great 5-yard runs. But for the most part, he wasn't really a big factor on the ground. But the Saints did just enough. And this is one of them situations where when you up by 2 scores, you can't all of a sudden get conservative and get lax and get soft on both sides of the ball. Because I would have been blitzing out of my mind against the damn New Orleans Saints. I'm not going to say, oh, go and bring blitz 8 like this is the goddamn the Atlanta Falcons of the late 80s, early 90s. We got the grits blitz. No, that's not going down like that. Don't do that. Jerry Glanville, was that his name? I believe it was Glanville. But don't do that because you're going to get torn the fuck up. All right? But tough loss for the Eagles. I'll say this, all right? Going into each game, really, I should have been 3-1 on this week, with my only loss being the Chargers. But because I did not come to YouTube and tell you guys I was changing my picks, more importantly, I forgot to even write it on Twitter. I was just in my house informing my brother, like, yo, you know what? I said they were going to win. They're not going to. I should have did it to inform you guys, but nonetheless, I'm going to be doing the honesty, or I should say, do the integrity thing and just say, you know what, I'm 1-3 on the picks, and I got a negative record in the playoffs. Although, 2-2 in the wild card, 3-1 in the divisional, but we ain't talking about that right now. Exciting divisional, or I should say, championship weekend coming up. Rematches earlier in the season, so we can get much more in-depth given that we got the film. But nonetheless, this has been the divisional round of the playoffs, post-coverage, or I should say post-game coverage. I have been the host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis, and I'm signing out. Oh, did you really think I was going to sign out without pointing out the fact that the Cowboys is going home? Of course I gotta point it out, cause they them boys, you gotta think, Amari Cooper, Blake Darwin, Van Der Esch, Sean Lee, Dalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, Tony Romo on commentary, Troy Aikman on commentary, Jason Witten on commentary, Darren Woodson the analyst, Jerry Jones, Jason Garrett, we gonna give him an extension although he didn't win any playoff game, Michael Irvin the analyst, it don't matter because we may have lost in the divisional round, but we gonna come back next year. We still NFC East champs because we gonna go to the Super Bowl. We gonna win every single game in the preseason. That's gonna be 4-0. And then after, we gonna win 16 games in the regular season. That's gonna be 16-0. And then we gonna win the 3 games in the postseason because they're not gonna let us play a wild card game because we gonna be undefeated. We gonna have the first round bye and the Clinton playoff berth to make sure that we have home field advantage as well. And then we gonna win the 3 games in the postseason, 23-0. And go to the Super Bowl, cause we them boys, we gonna win it all next year. Nobody gonna stop us now. 6 rings, 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 6 rings.